Hey, what's up? We're live. Thank you to anyone who's here. We're gonna have an interesting one this time. Let me know if you can hear me well. As always, hopefully I can see the chat, unlike the previous times where YouTube randomly decides to make things harder on me. Let me double check. I'm gonna open up the stream on my phone, and we'll just to be on the safe side. But in any case, thank you so much for being here. Hey, I can see the chat. Cool. Yes. Hey everyone. Everyone, please let me know you can hear me. I know it's a little delayed, so whenever you can hear me, let me know. It's really hot in here for some reason. Let's see here. I see your message, Vojta. Hey, I hope you're doing well. Okay, let me open this up here. And Stephen Martin says sound is God. Thank you. Okay, yes, now I can see it. Okay, good. So I'm not gonna need my phone as backup today. So today we're gonna have a fun one because originally I thought I'd do this live in a very it's actually delayed for my streaming software. That's weird. I hate when that happens. But in any case, so I actually thought I'll do a very well prepared live stream with me actually giving some demos and doing some extra stuff, and then I decided let's go a little more casual in this one, and then I started preparing it and actually ended up writing an actual nice curriculum here. So we will go over some stuff today. I want to still keep the schedule. You know, last week I didn't do one, and I want to kind of get the rust off without like nothing too high pressure. So let me see what you're saying in the chat. I hope everyone's having a good day, a good week. Sounds okay, Stephen Martin. Thank you so much, Vojta. Indeed, we can hear you. Thank you. Agat says, hello, Liron. We hear you well. Ambi says, hi, Liron. Trinidiana says, hi there. Happy Life says, hi. Marco Ayo says, good morning. I hear you. Michael says, Heb, Liron. I'm not sure what Heb is. Maybe you want me to talk Hebrew. Kathy Gisi, yes, thanks for doing this. Pam Lake says sound is okay. Thank you so much. Nancy G, hey, welcome aboard. Andrea Sims, my first live stream, hearing you just fine from Denver, Colorado, taking your drawing class. So good. Thank you so much for that. I remember, I believe you sent me an email, right? Not too long ago. James L. Baker, hi Liron, greetings to all from sunny London. Chris P, hello from Germany. Hamburg is the city. Richard Bennett, hello everyone. Hello Liron. So let me talk a bit about what we're gonna discuss today. I want to talk about values, and I want to invite you to take part in this by asking questions about values. As you may know, I see values in painting as one of the most important factors for getting a good result or a realistic result. And the formula, as I wrote it very simply on my piece of paper, says values plus, I don't know, yeah, I wrote that down. Yeah, okay. So values plus drawing always equals realism. So if you get your values accurate, if you get the drawing accurate, you will create a realistic impression of any subject you decide to tackle. And that is the fun part, because what I want to touch upon today, okay, just a touch, is to show you a method for always utilizing that same process to getting a realistic result. It's as simple as that. You'll have a process for everything. Now, you can think of this as kind of a precursor to my course on values. That's going to be the next watercolor course I'm working on. I'm planning right now. I still haven't done a thing like actual of substance yet. Just starting to plan it out. And it's going to be really fun because it's such an important topic, and I have this vision in mind that after you go through the course, you're basically able to paint anything from observation in black and white and get a realistic result. As long as you know some basic drawing, obviously, that's going to be a part of it. So I think it's a really important topic, something that a lot of people struggle with, but is easier than you would think, because once people get the idea, you actually see great improvement in your results very fast. It just takes a little getting accustomed to seeing values accurately and then learning the technique for mixing. But once you get through that hump, you will do beautifully, you'll create beautiful results. Even if you have some inaccuracies in the technique and the drawing, it still will look good. And I get emails every day with results people sharing with me that show this. I can see this. It's black and white, monochromatic. It's still life for a landscape or a portrait. It always looks good. I can always see some edges that could be fixed, some flow that could be improved, but the impression is there. You take a few steps back, it looks really nice. So this is the goal for today. Now let's see who is in the house. I'm going to reply to some chat messages, and if you have any questions, let me know, and then we'll jump into the curriculum. So Painting with Samir says hi from Bosnia. Hot Road 6969 says hello. Kochi Lavi says, hey Liron, waiting for your live. Here we are. Thank you for being here. Vespa 4 Yen. Yay, a morning with Liron from Truckee, California. California? Hopefully. Valentino something says hello from the Philippines. Thank you for being here, Valentino something. I have missed the last live stream, so I'm happy to be back. But we've been fairly consistent. I mean, if there's something important, I miss them. Of course I am. Hi Liron, hope you're well. Thank you. I am. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Rich G, hi from Rich Goss, New York. Cool. How's New York now? Hopefully it's getting better and people are going back to the streets. Businesses are opening anew. That'll be nice. I really want to visit again. Khaybar Kakar says hi from Germany. Les Sanchez says hello. Abraham Acevedo, hi from Gran Canaria. Chris Bushnell says, hey Liron, nearly missed this today. Oh, I'm happy you're here then. Here I am. Tarcisio Domante, hello Liron, welcome back. Many greetings from Sicily. Thank you, my friend from Sicily. Christine Kaiser, hi from Scotland. Michael H, hi from Holland. Wow, we have awesome representation today from everywhere, pretty much. Kristen Sanchez, hi from Tennessee. Beginner here. We're all beginners. I'm still a beginner. We're all learning. PJ Lewis, I recently commented on another video of yours how I'd like to learn more about value. So I feel a prayer of mine has been answered. Yes, that's I always get my topics from talking to you. It's amazing how that works, because I don't know how, like, I know that there's more awareness these days to actually communicating with your audience as opposed to just creating content, which means replying to comments and messages and all of that good stuff. And I really am trying to, let me turn Bluetooth off. I don't know why, I think it could cause a delay. We'll see if it improves now, but in any case, it really is important, and it's always, I always get a good return on my investment when I actually take time to talk with you. Always, always. I'll always get either motivation or new ideas or new topics for videos. So that's exactly how I make my content. And this is a good kind of hidden advice for many content creators. Listen to the audience. Mimi Harp, hey, greetings from Delaware, USA. Cool. Kimberly Hilton, hi Liron, excited to catch you live. Happy day, everyone. Shout out from Virginia, US. Thank you for being here. Hein Tet, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much. Marina Burrell, hi from California. Debbie Ann, hi from Long Island, New York. Liron, so glad to see you live today. Thank you so much for all you do. My pleasure. My pleasure. Hein says, greetings from Yangon, Myanmar. Cool. Ambi, hi from Germany. Cool. Annelies Fort, or Annelies Fort. Annelies, sorry, I never know how to pronounce it. Hi from Melbourne. Looking goose. Thank you. I like looking goose. No kidding. I know you meant good. I love the top. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's not that new, but it's also not that old, actually. Elizabeth C. message retracted. Sorry about that. Send one again. Oh, I see. Hello from Annecy, France. Ken Pollard. Hi from Temecula, California. I love the names of places in California. They're always so cool sounding. Scars 1951. How do you do? I guess this fine day. I'm doing well. Ali Reza. Shelvarchi. Greetings from Iran. Cool. Don't get many people from Iran here on YouTube. I actually get a lot of people from Iran on Instagram in messages. So thank you for being here, Ali Reza. Trinidiana, hi from sunny Orlando. Barbara. A Solony, hi from New York City. Yes, we are starting to open in New York City. Awesome, happy to hear. Christine Kaiser, thank you so much for your critique on Instagram and value below. Happy I could help. Trinidiana, amazing people from all over the world. Indeed, great topic, right? Value is so important. Samir says, yep. Steve W, hi from Yorkshire, UK. Elizabeth C, hello from Annecy, France. I read that one. Domo, yo, what's up, Liron from UK? Hey, Domo, how are you? Paul Claxton, hi there. From the Claxton, that's a cool name. From Lincoln in the UK. Anna Sierra, hi from Spain. Gloria Wilson, well, hello, hello, hi from Florida, USA. Be well and stay safe. Thank you so much. Don Coffin, hi from North Carolina mountains. Cool, cool. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go back to the chat in a few moments. Let's get started with the lesson. So again, thank you so much for being here. We're talking values. We're going to start with the importance of values, and I'll do that very easily just by showing you a couple of examples of paintings that I did on the screen as we talk. What I want to show you is how, even for paintings that you see them in, let's say, color, okay, I'm trying to make this bigger. There we go. Okay, so even for paintings that were done in color, I'll show you how when I turn them black and white, there's always a core of something that works in their core relates to values. Okay, so it's not just the colors are nice, it's not just the composition, it's always the values. So this is easy. It's the process you saw in the How to Simplify course. Very straightforward in terms of it's black and white. You see it black and white. And again, no colors necessary to create realism. You only get that by value and drawing. Our brains read that as realism. It could be argued that colors will end up being more realistic if you get them right. But black and white is such a low-hanging fruit for you to learn and master because it's just using one color, makes the technique much simpler, makes the process much easier, and you will still get a realistic result. So why not? And I want to show you with all of these examples, if I just make this one really small, at some point you probably cannot tell this from a photo. So that's how realistic it is. And we will work mainly black and white today. So if you're disappointed by that, if you prefer colorful or full color over monochromatic, my apologies, but it is an important step. Though it's not, this is what this live stream is going to be about. So this is a good example. Here's another one of a painting I did 2 years ago. And this one is really, really nice. I love this one of Boats Harbor. I believe this is in Acre, a city up north. And I don't have the colorful version of this one in particular here. I just turned it to black and white, but hopefully you can tell there's a good sense of depth, there's a good sense of details, and once again, my impressionism is that which, if you just make it a little smaller and a little from far, it looks a little more realistic, because I love to simplify a lot of the details, so when you zoom in, you actually don't see a lot of them. But you see, just black and white, and it looks great, and it feels like there's a good sense of place. Here's another one I wanted to share with you, Brooklyn Bridge. I actually have a video here, probably one of my most underrated videos on this channel, because I show you this full process. It's about an hour long, maybe 40 minutes to an hour long, 53, 57. I remember that kind of a number. It didn't get a lot of views because it's a longer video, but I do think it deserves more because I think the impression is there. It's a picture I took in Brooklyn Bridge on the last visit to New York. And man, this scene is so nice. This scene is just beautiful. And I immediately knew this is going to turn into a painting. Okay, so let's go over our two more, basically. Here's another one. I actually don't remember if I painted it as part of a video. I believe I painted this one off camera. And then I did a more focused one on that boat in the middle on YouTube. So again, no reds, no orange, yellow sand, no blue water, black and white, and you can still tell what you're looking at, and it looks great in my opinion. Let's look at one more that I want to show you. This is pretty cool. So this painting that some of you probably have not seen, it's a bit old, but I know some of you have seen it. Let me make it a little larger. So you'd think, wow, all the colors, I went really wild with them in a way. On purpose. Look at that cast shadow. And by the way, can you see the pencil right up here? There's a lot of pencil in the sky. That was because I was planning for foliage to come out of there, and I just decided not to because it looked good. Now that I look at it, I think it would have looked better with it. But what's been done, and I think this one sold a long time ago, so I don't have it. But you'd think the colors here is what makes it so beautiful, and yes, to an extent they are, and that courage of going with a full color scheme of, it's just 3 primaries, by the way. 3 primary colors mixed in different ways, or maybe 4. It's not the colors, though. That's what I want to show you, because look at it black and white. Yes, it's much more black and white for all intents and purposes. It's not, there we go, it's not colorful. or not as colorful at least, if you compare the two, of course, but it still reads well. You can still tell the cars and the shapes and everything. And by the way, look at that shadow in the foreground. It's much lighter than some people would think. It's kept to a very mid value. So there's a lot going on in the values. And the thing to understand is when you add colors onto it, it immediately misleads you. Because some colors tend to look much darker than they actually are. Some colors tend to look much lighter than they actually are. With foliage, for example, you look at green trees, very strong green trees. You'll have it either way. Either you think because they're green, they're actually a strong green, whereas they're more like a pale yellow in the highlights. And on the other hand, when you look at large areas of grass, for example, and it's really struck by the light, it looks so light, and then you turn the photo black and white and it's dark. Okay, so it's something you want to be aware of. And this brings me to my first topic of how to see the values more accurately. So first off, you can definitely turn every picture you have into black and white. That's a great solution. Turn it black and white. You can see it much more clearly. Now, if you don't have the means to do that on the spot, or you just don't want to, you will have to learn what colors tend to mislead, what colors tend to look darker or lighter than they actually are. It's a learning process. The reds and the greens, again, I find to be a little more problematic than others, but it is something you can train your brain into seeing. Now, there is one more concept I want to talk about, and that is that colors, and this is really important to remember, values, are also relative. So I can take this scene and bring everything up the value scale and make it much lighter, and it will still look correct and good because relative to one another, the values work well. Okay, these are all things I'm going to show you in just a moment, but I just want to give you kind of that introduction. So what you want to do is learn how to see values accurately. Then you want to be able to mix them accurately, and then I'll show you a few advanced real-time manipulations, if you will. It is something I discussed in a past video, talking about, was it advanced watercolor exercises or something like that? I think it was 3 advanced or intermediate to advanced watercolor techniques. And it got actually a nice amount of views, but most people will not obviously see it because there is 100,000 followers, subscribers, and there's only like 3 to 10,000 views per this video. I'm not sure. I think somewhere in that range. So in any case, and by the way, I'm looking to the side because I'm reading from my paper. So let me show you what I've got here. The importance of values. I'm demonstrating this right here. You see, under every painting that has nice colors, there's also values that are correct. We have the values plus drawing equals realism. This live stream will help me get some insights for the course. If you ask questions, I'll put them in the curriculum. And then you want to learn how to see them accurately, match them accurately, some advanced real-time manipulation. We'll talk about edges and connections a bit. And yeah, then we'll do some Q&A, quick demo, etc. Okay, so let's talk about matching values accurately. But before we do that, let's go back to the chat. Just read a few messages. We were right here. Aniruddha Gupta says, "Hey yo, greetings from Bombay. Scars Indiana checking in." Ali Reza says, "Thank you so much for being here." Melk551 from Burnley. Liaz Ford, been watching your simplistic YouTube. It's very informative. Yeah. Hopefully they can simplify mostly, because most things are simpler than they actually seem. Alessandro, hello my friend, how are you? Rita Brata Basak, when is the critique video coming up? I don't remember, but it is scheduled. So it's probably gonna be, it's gonna be on the 4th of May, I believe, which is Tuesday. I believe that's when I'll do the critique video. So yep. Funny dude, morning from North Carolina, everyone. Hi from Sweden by Miriam Nordstrand. Bizdik Berit, hi from Turkey. I came here before starting my watercolor painting. Your videos are great inspiration. Thank you so much. Alessandro, don't you think that values are easier when using black and white instead of all colors? Yes, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you. How to use just black and white in this one. Very nice paintings anyway, thank you so much. Envy, that's exciting. I've never painted in black and white. Cool. Well, yeah, I ended up answering your question. Envy, you'll get a chance to do that now. Kimberly Hilton, Hey Liron, do you have advice for starting growing a YouTube art channel? Should I use my personal account or create a new one for art channel? Could you possibly do a future video on the subject? Kimberly, that's a good question. If you're talking about like Instagram, if you want to create like an... You know what, I'll address this. I'll write it down. I'll take a screenshot as well. And I do want to address it. Maybe I'll do like a quick YouTube video on that, okay? I took a screenshot with your question. I will address it because there is a bit of nuance in it that I want to address properly. But be on the lookout because I will post something about it. John, hey, how are you? I hope you're doing well too. Alessandro, I'll surely put this video in my favorites. Thank you so much. Nancy, Liron is super red. Hello from your friend, Texas, USA. Fesh go gulululu. This feels like I'm attending an online class in school, except I actually want to pay attention. Cool. Yeah, I'll try and make this as entertaining and educational as I can. Jody Marmon, hello from Ohio, USA. David Green, I love your use of values, so really appreciate you sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much, David. I'm very grateful for your support. James L. Baker, same, very grateful for your support. Let's take this one question, then we'll continue. Is it easier to draw from a black and white photo than a colored one? So if you're asking about drawing in particular, I find that not always will you have a big difference between the two. It really depends on the colors. If the colors are those that lead to easily lead to optical illusions, it will be easier to draw from the colorful one, because you will see the difference between a very dark red and a very bright green, or these things will be clearer actually in the colorful photo. With that said, sometimes I will use the black and white photo if I want to simplify it for myself in terms of the details, because sometimes I will find that it's easier for me to see the details more simplified in black and white. So it really is a matter of what you're trying to achieve. If you want to get a full picture, you will need the color one, because there are color differences that don't register as values, meaning same value, different colors. You won't see the difference between the two unless you use a colorful photo. I hope that helps. Let's get to the demo. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to switch here to this camera. We're going to move, I have two reference photos that we'll use later on. But now I just want to show you some basic technique. Sorry that the camera is, I know it's a little on the red side, on the red tint, on the warm-ish temperature scheme. So my apologies about that. Hopefully it will improve, but if not, we're fine. We're good because we're going to work black and white. So the simplest watercolor technique in the world, I think, is mixing the right value. Because what we're doing here is we're just working on our control. Okay, so I'm putting on our very basic control of the medium, which is water and color and how they interact. So one of the first things you'd want to learn how to do is create a value scale. And I'm just going to draw here real quick. This kind of a thing. Okay. So this kind of a value scale. I know you can't see much. You will be able to in a moment. Where the lightest square is going to be paper white. And the more... And this is black. This is my black color here. Okay, and I wrote it down. This is neutral black. It's actually by Kohinoor, the brand Kohinoor. It's not as neutral. It's actually a little bluish, but we'll work with that. So what you want to practice on is diluting it as much as you can. So I'm going to use plenty of water. Look at how watery this is. Look at how much it moves on the palette. That's the key. That's where you want to pay attention. The palette, look at it, look at how what the paint looks like. Okay, there's a little bit of paint and a whole lot more water. And what you want to do is fill in this square with this value, and it will look a little stronger when it's wet, but once it dries, it will dry much lighter. Okay, that's just how it works. So you filled in this little square here. You can use the brush, dry it, and just pick up some of the excess moist, because what happens is this part will dry, this will stay wet, and you'll get a background. Okay, that's a very frequent occurrence, so that's how you avoid it. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to take this mix and add more black into it. Okay, so a bit more black, and already the value is obviously going to be darker. Now we have a test paper to test this out, and if this is too basic for you, don't worry, it's going to get much more complex soon. Now this isn't significantly darker, So I'm going to add a bit more, because remember, we have tons of water here. So I'm going to need a little more paint to make a difference. This is closer to what I want, so let's get that in here. And by the way, look at how beautifully these two mix. I will show you a cool technique in a moment that really harps on that and plays on that interaction of wet paint, okay? So a little bit darker. Next, let's make it even darker. So again, we'll use our trusty paper. Now in theory, you're supposed to go from the lightest light to the darkest dark. So we could already fill in the black swatch, but there are plenty of ways of doing this kind of a value scale. You can start and gradually darken up to wherever you get, or you can constrain yourself. Let me show you. I'm going to show you. It's going to be really fun. So this is the darkest, and now we need something in the middle, so we'll add a bit more water. Probably actually need more paint. And hopefully this is a little more water. And this is somewhere in the middle. Okay, I know it looks very dark. It looks closer to this probably. And maybe it is. We'll see in a moment. But I believe this should be close enough. Okay, so here we go. So we got this kind of a value scale. Okay, from light to dark. Now, I'm lightening it up a bit. And now I'm going to darken it up. So I'm giving you a preview of the technique I'll show you later. But yeah, that's just how it works. Sometimes you have to make corrections. Hopefully this is wet enough so that it will dry lighter and kind of in between. Okay, now I want to show you something cool. Okay, I just have to lift back a bit. That's good. So I want to show you something really fun. Another thing you can do is decide, let's say, that, let's go like this, kind of the same kind of division. What you can decide is, I don't want to go from light to black, from white to black. I want to go from, and practice going from the lightest to this. And this is actually how you can improve your nuance of value within this constrained range, okay? So it can be a little harder because you have less wiggle room, less room for error. So this is going to be white. The next one needs to be just a tad bit darker because we're aiming not for this, but for that, okay? So let's try it out. I'm going to bring in more water. This is what you'd call really tea. There's a lot of people, including myself, will sometimes say tea because it's just like tea. It's mostly water, barely any paint there. And this even may be too dark, okay? I've actually almost never done the exercise this way. Just recently I did a few experimentations with it. So this is one swatch. The next one, the challenge is again, how do I get this a little bit darker? Not a whole lot darker because we're aiming for something lighter here. So it needs to be a little lighter. And yes, again, it will look much, much darker on paper. Once it dries, you will start seeing the differences. Okay, so there we go. So that's kind of a tad bit darker. And ultimately, finally, let's just put it the way it was on paper. And hopefully it's kind of in the middle. Now we'll get a bit of a cauliflower here, but that's fine. And hopefully I did a decent job at moving from this. And you will see once it dries. It's a little hard to tell now. But yeah, you will see maybe a gradual transition. If not, we're going to darken this one a little more. We're going to cheat a little, just so that it looks good. Let's cheat a little. Darken it up just a little bit. Not too much though, okay? But in any case, the point is you can have a very partial value range. Now, if you really want to challenge yourself, try going from, let's say, this to this. Now you barely have any wiggle room. In fact, it's not, the difference isn't even going to register on the camera, okay? But forget about that. That's super advanced and really unnecessary at this point. What I want you to do is just practice mixing different values. You don't even have to match them yet. I just want you to say, okay, I'm going to mix a light value. Okay, cool. Now, relative to that, I'm going to mix a darker value. So you add a bit of black to that same mixture, and you put it on paper. That's another way to go. Let's make it darker, a little more black. See? Make it darker, a little more black, and so on and so forth. Okay? So that's the whole idea of mixing. Now let me show you something really neat. We're gonna do, okay, yeah. So I'm gonna devote a part of this page to this. I've prepared it in advance. Hopefully I won't get too much paint on my tape here. But here's what I want to show you. Do you remember how I showed you use all your primary colors and let them mix on paper so that you get a fluid and even coverage with different colors? Let's do the same with different values, okay? Let's see that you're following in the chat. Okay, I see a bunch of stuff here. Okay, we'll get to some of the messages. Dave, no worries. I started actually not too long ago. Sorry that you didn't get a notification. Anyone hit the bell button. If you didn't, make sure that the bell button next to the subscribe button is pressed so that you get notifications. And if you can like this video, it will help greatly in getting it in front of more people. So I see 106 viewers, 39 likes. Please, 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 if you can like the video, up the ratio a bit. Now let's get on with it. So the same thing with colors, only with values. I want you to get an even coverage of the paper. So let me show you. Let's start with a bit of this value. Okay? And right next to it, mix up a dark value and place it right here. And the key is, you see, there's flow between them. It's not like a perfect flow, but it is there. Okay? Hopefully you saw that. And continue. Cannot stop. Get something that is in the middle and fill it up here. Let's get something that is almost watery, like really almost just water, and fill this area up. See? And then let's get something that is a little darker and fill this area up. And then let's get like a fully dry paint right out of the pan. And then let's get something in the middle here. And then let's get some water and help that move. So the point is, expand outwards, fill in and cover all of this area with as even of a variation of values as you can create, okay? And you see these edges started drying, but, and by the way, I promised I'll show you the sheen, okay? So you see it's still quite wet. See this here? It started drying, but like magic, because it's not fully dry, if I just put a bit of water there, yes, you will get a bit of a cauliflower, a bit of a mark, but it still kind of wakes it up, okay? And if you want to avoid that, put some thick paint next to it, thicker, okay, a bit thicker, and that way you'll avoid that mark, okay? And you just continue moving along with this exercise. You may find that you need to go faster the larger you go because you're opening up a bigger shape, okay? That's to be expected. So don't worry about that. Get a bit of a darker yet wet. You see, everyone asks me, how do you get flow with very dark colors? Use colors that are dark to begin with, but also you need a lot of water. If you just go and dig into the pan, see, you won't get much flow. And that's a problem. You need a lot of water too. A lot of paint, a lot of water, and you get this beautiful, rich, dark color, okay? Then let's add a bit of a... If you want to put a light color here, don't go with light color, go with water. And do this, and you see? You moved the dark value onto the lighter area. And then let's go just almost pure water. Okay, let's go again, lighter. And fill in an entire page as flowy as you can. And I don't care if, you know, I missed some spot, that's fine. It's not about like the spots you missed, it's more about the area you do cover. Make that as flowy and as beautiful as you can. You see here, started to dry on me, right? But here I got a very nice flow. Here I got a very nice flow. Okay, practice this. Here I got a very nice flow as well. So this is something you want to practice. Why? Because you're going to need it. And I'm going to show you in just a second. Okay? Cover up. Here it's really dry, so use some thick paint. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but it's worth trying. See? And if you want to improve the movement, you can always use one of these. Just go like this, and it will hide the fact that some of it has dried. Okay, just a quick tip there. But for the most part, I want you to practice this. Fill in an entire piece of paper like that, okay? And really practice doing this as fast as necessary, but as slow as you can. Okay, I want you to find that balance. You don't have to be nervous, you don't have to be stressed, but I do want you to work as fast as necessary to get these beautiful gradual transitions. Okay? If you remember, I showed you an illustration I did of Pokemon, and in it, I had the sky, the blue sky. That's how I had to work. I had to mix and work at a fast pace. Okay, you can't go super slow. You have to work at some kind of a fast pace. Okay? So we're done with this. Now, the next thing I want to show you is advanced real-time manipulation. But let me just mark here all the things I did talk about so that I know. Let's look at some questions and then we'll continue. Stephen Martin, I've learned to paint darker with watercolor since they dry lighter than when wet. Exactly. And hopefully you've seen it here. And by the way, see how this dried? Yeah, it dried much lighter, especially this one. It really fell now in between them, okay? And this was way more challenging. You saw that I went too dark. Even here, when you take only a part of the value scale, in fact, it's like you cut it here, you cut it right here, and you decide I'm going to focus on this lighter section or on this darker section. And here, by the way, you can see the difference between the two stains I put earlier. Like this one is a little lighter than this one, okay? So yeah, another thing to have in mind. Let's see here. Vojta, I'll be painting a little painting along. Should I go back black and white and put your advice mostly directly into test? Yeah, go ahead and try that out. Let me know how you liked it. Hopefully you will enjoy it. But yeah, if you feel like doing color, go for that. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to give my drink a bit of a shake here. Richard Bennett, shameless plug, the values section on the frustration-free watercolor course is highly insightful. Thank you so much. It's not shameless if you give the plug, it's shameless if I do it. Thank you so much, Richard, I really appreciate it. Kelvin Zero, black and white picture equals freedom in the color department. Yes! I've been painting watercolor for 2 years now, and I'm still not used to the color shift when it dries. Good thing I paint in layers. Yeah, that's true. I especially noticed that for reds. Reds are so misleading, and I'm still working on... Sometimes it's just getting the right color, but sometimes it's getting that right value that will make it shine the most, and that's not easy at all. So it's something I'm challenged by too. Medhukov, I remember you, I just never know how to pronounce it properly, so my apologies. Namaste, Liron. How are you doing, my friend? Vojta, Koinur paint. Koinur is ours, a Czech company. Yeah, let's go. Are you satisfied with Koinur paints? They are super available where I live, but I never tried them. So here's the thing. Just based on playing around with this black color, I really like it. And you can see it here on the palette. So this was actually a set I got as a gift. So I didn't yet have a chance to crack it open. Here it is. I'll show you. Mondaluz 24. Honestly, I don't even know if it's considered artist grade. I just ran out of black paint, and I thought to myself, I'll mix my own, but I don't know, it's values we're talking about. I didn't want to make it complex, and I didn't want to go like sepia. I wanted to really use black color. So here is the set. Very nice, actually, from the one color I played around with. The rest, as you see, brand new. I hope to try them out in the near future. But yeah. I actually did a portrait for a crowdfunding campaign for a kid who needed money for a lot of expensive operations and stuff like that. And they gave me this as a gift. So yeah, that's how I got it. So thank you so much. Much appreciated, because they seem good. Like, so far, really nice. So we'll see, Vojta. We'll try them out. And by the way, when I wanted to say, when I visited Prague, I've been to Prague 3 times, by the way. I don't know if you knew this, but 3 times I was in Prague. Once with my family, twice with friends, different friends every time. And I saw a store of Koinur, and I kind of went inside, looked a bit around, but I didn't get to buy. I think I only bought like a sketchbook. But yeah, very fun. Dave says, yeah, sorry I'm late. No worries, Dave. You didn't miss too much, okay? Kristen Sanchez, what brush is that? So this is an Escoda Perla, size, who knows? Size 8. I believe that's the one I just used, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, sorry, the chat sometimes jumps. Okay, Arthur Koopmans, I think it's called a travel brush. Indeed, you are right. Rita Brata, hey Liron, don't forget to critique my painting. I sent you an email. Yes, definitely. I will critique it. If you sent me an email, I will see it once I collect everything. And if I miss any of your paintings, just send me another email and I'll surely include it in the next video. Sorry if I do. It can happen. Art Maya, is it end here? I'm not sure. I'm just getting started though. So yeah, if you're asking if I'm finished. Liz Sanchez, can you also just layer with the same mix to obtain tone values you want to achieve? So do you mean if you can do several layers and build the darkness that way? Yes, of course. Coca-Cola, Liron, do you know how to draw the figure or break down the figure? Yes, I do. I still have a lot to improve in that regard, but I am working at it every week. I'm practicing every week to improve that. It's really hard. David Figs, my friend, how are you? Sorry for arriving late, buddy. No worries, I'm happy to have you here. Calvin Zero, I started all my paintings by putting in tint of my primary randomly, so my white isn't really white. That's fun, that's really fun. Show us your latest Pokemon painting. Oh, yeah, I think I have it here, yeah. So I did this one yesterday. Turned out really nicely, and actually the red for the shirt should be more like pink, very bright pink. In the original, or not very bright pink, very bright magenta. So yeah, that could be improved. Let me show you here. This is the better camera. In fact, let me do this. There you go. So this was a really fun one to make. I'm very happy with how the hair turned out. Like these lights and darks turned out really, really well. It's kind of old Ken Sugimori manga Pokemon style. Oh, and by the way, I did this one just before, like a short while ago. A little strange one, but I had fun doing it very fast, very quick. But yeah, just kind of a warm-up. Let's see here. Domo, this is so cool, man. I definitely need to do this as dedicated practice. I feel like my paper dries in seconds on me, even though it's cotton. Start with very wet paint, Domo, it will help. That's a big part of it. Arthur Koopmans, mixing these values is looking good. All too often when I try to put multiple values in one layer, it starts to blend together and becomes one single value. Painting bigger might avoid that. Yeah. And I think also the paper could help. Dave, Liron, does this effect work with all paints? What kind of effect? Like blending them all together? I mean, of course it should work. I don't know if that's what you mean, but let me know. Daiji, does the principle here apply to ink wash? That's interesting. I think it could. I'm not a big expert in using ink like with water. I mostly just use ink. You'll have to test it out. Marjorie got up at 6 so I wouldn't miss, and now it's 9:30 and I finally remember. Hello, have been using many colors for value studies for the last couple of days. Monochromatic, it's been fun. Yeah, that's really fun. I got so many cauliflowers, Ambi says. Yeah, that's a part of it. Don't be too hard on yourself. The cauliflowers are a beautiful part of watercolor. Like, look at what I got here. That's a cauliflower. These are cauliflowers. This is a cauliflower. This is a cauliflower. Probably got a few here as well. Not as much here, a bit. It's just a part of it. It's just a byproduct of water and paint. You learn how to control it, and it's not as important. And a good paper can really eliminate a lot of your issues. Thank you anyone who liked this live stream. I really appreciate it. I see the likes have jumped quite a bit. Alessandro, what are you drinking? So I'm drinking a mix. This is like the apple cider vinegar drink. So I'm basically drinking, it's apple vinegar or apple cider vinegar with lemon squeezed into it with some ginger, grated ginger and water. And a bit of monk fruit for sweetness. So yeah, I'm going real crazy with this drink. It's a nice lemonade that should be good for digestion, so I do that a couple of times a week. So that's my drink. I honestly also just need a drink while I'm streaming so that I can continue talking. Art Maya, how are you doing? Thank you, I'm doing well. Laura, hey, how are you, Laura? Welcome aboard. Vojta, awesome, Prague is so cool. I study there. Next time you're visiting and you're in the mood, let me know, I'll buy you a beer. Thank you so much. Hopefully I will get to visit again. I mean, Prague is beautiful. I was there once around Christmas time. It was so cold, but it was so fun, and the whole Christmas atmosphere was just crazy fun. Hot wine in the square, like really, really nice. Um, Samyak says, hey, welcome aboard. James L. Baker, I see a cute little dog in your painting. Funny. Let me see if I can imagine it, though I don't see it. Maybe I will later on. Maybe I'll rotate it, maybe from afar. Who knows? But I bet you there are a bunch of faces here. Henny, how are you? Hi everyone, Liron. Could you do a vid on painting small alla prima thumbnails? Or whole painting would be so cool. Love them immediacy. Yeah, I'll do more alla primas. Let me screen cap that, just so that I remember. That's my tactic. Another thing I'll be doing is, whenever I feel like I answered a question that's meaningful, I may write down the timestamp so I know when it is, so that I can make a quick video for Instagram or something like that. So you will see me do that occasionally. My apologies. Domo, I find yellow is extremely misleading, especially when placed next to typically dark colors that are actually similar value. Yeah, you can go way too dark very easily with yellows, or way too light. It's really, really misleading. So with that, let's jump onto the next exercise. And this is something I have shown you just a bit here. First, let me get rid of this. And in fact, we can actually probably use the other side of this piece of paper. So let's try that out. I taped them one over the other, so I'm going to have to remove the tape a little carefully here, so that I don't... we can actually remove both, it doesn't matter. But in any case, let me do this. Let me flip this one upside down, because I can definitely demo this here. It doesn't have to be a new piece of paper. It'll just be faster. Tape the corners. The only problem is that this paper, it's so buckled. You will see this in a moment, not because of the paint, but because of how it's purchased in the roll. So it's going to be a little buckled, but that's fine. So here it is. What I want to show you is what I called advanced real-time manipulation. And this is when you control the value constantly. And this is something you will find yourself, that you have to do. You'll find yourself doing this inevitably. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say I mix this value, and I put it onto the paper, and shoot, it's way too dark. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a bit of, put my brush in the water, cleaned it a bit, and I'm going to add a bit of that moisture to make it lighter. Or I can add a lot of moisture to make it a lot lighter. And then come back, wipe the brush, come back with a dry brush and lift. You see? But then I may decide, oops, I actually need it to be darker. So let me put back here some dark paint. Okay? You need to be very dark, actually. You have to be able to do this, okay? You have to be able to, and to learn how to do this with time. You will constantly have a need to do this. So let's say I put this wash, it's too light. I'm going to go back, grab some dark paint, and I'm just going to put it in, okay? Something like this. Or maybe sometimes you'll need to lighten up a part of a wash, so you have to know how to do that. Sometimes you'll bring a bunch of water and just drop it in. See? See that cauliflower that's going to be created? It's not the end of the world, because both are very wet. Both the paint I'm putting it into and what I have on the brush is very wet, so the cauliflower isn't going to be a disaster. Remember, cauliflowers aren't necessarily made by wet paint. They're made by a difference in wetness. So if you have very dry paint, very wet paint, the difference between them is what's going to create a cauliflower. In other words, this is starting to dry. I'm going to just bring a bunch of water here and watch as the magic of cauliflower is going to happen in front of us, okay? And again, cauliflowers aren't the devil. Don't demonize them. They're okay. They can be very useful for effects and so on. Sometimes you can use them to create something that feels like a road in the distance, a lighter road. The downside is that there may be a bit of a darkness around them. Okay, so sometimes you will just lift those highlights that you're interested in. But, you know. So in any case, on with this exercise. Again, put some paint. Realize it needs to be darker. Darken it with more paint. Kind of wet and wet. Then realize another part needs to be lighter. Lighten it up. And here's the key for why this is so important. Because as you're painting, what you will slowly figure out is that you can be more relaxed. And you don't have to worry as much about getting the right value immediately, because you have this tactic at your disposal to slowly adjust the value. So if this is not dark enough, here I am going with a bit of darker paint. If I need more of a gradual transition here, let me come back with a bit of water, you see? And that's how you slowly build a shape that is somewhat accurate. So let's say we have this ball here, this weird, strange looking ball, okay? That's how you do it. And because you have this ability, you don't worry as much about the technique, and that's getting the right value. That's the magic here. Because very often I'll mix something, I'll spend a long time mixing it, and trust me, it's a long time, and it's colorful, it's not even monochromatic, and I'm like, okay, I have no idea, I don't know, let's try and see. Is it dark enough? Is it too dark? Is it too light? And that way you can do that, okay? And I do want to bring back a technique I showed you earlier. Let's say, just briefly, that I have this very dark value. This is just a quick tip, but it is important. And next to it, there is a mid value, okay? So what you can do is just come back with a very wet brush, touch the edge, and you'll see how some of the dark paint will move into this area. You don't need much. I can, in fact, come back with a clean brush, fully clean, and just go like this. Tilt the paper even, if you want to, and you will be able to fill in this area next to it. Now, the reason this is important is sometimes if you have this, let's say this dark area, and you say, okay, I need a mid value next to it. So you mix that mid value, right? You mix and mix and mix. And sometimes it gets a little lost, you see, but if you just come with a bit of water and help it move onto that area, I just find it produces better results, okay? And this is kind of the opposite of wet and wet in a way, where you put, let's say, water, and then you put paint onto them. So this is like the opposite. What you're doing is you're using water to extend an existing shape, okay? And you want to do an exercise where you just kind of fill in a page with a bunch of these kinds of shapes. Like imagine it's an apple or something like that, okay? See? So imagine it's an orange or an apple or whatever. By the way, if you want to turn this into an apple, all you really have to do here is darken a bit here. That's funny. And you make it a bit of a dent there. And it will kind of turn into an apple. So yeah. And maybe pick up a highlight over here. Do we have a guest? I think it is time for Ruth. Boy. Shalom. Shalom lach. Shalom lach. Mizot. Let me move this. And let me move this. We don't need it anymore. Ma kore, Ruth. Watch out for the tail and the paint. Tada. Thank you, Ruth, for being here. And back to the tutorial. The Ruth cameo, we always must have one. And I kind of ruined this shape. But in any case, you get the point. This is advanced real-time manipulation. You want to be able to do this just to remove and relieve a lot of the pressure that you're feeling to get the value right the first time. No. Forget about that. Just get something on paper and learn how to lighten it, darken it, and so on. And look, I didn't even get too many cauliflowers. And the one here, I told you there's gonna be one, and here as well. But you see here, very smooth, very smooth. I mean, this is really just a fun way of doing it. I picked up a lot of paint, or I added water, and made it lighter, and it works out really well. So this is something you also want to have in mind. Next up, we're gonna do some demos. So let me rearrange some stuff, look at some of your questions, and then we can continue, and I'll show you some nice little demos. H. Partridge asks, says, great demo. Oh, sorry, did I miss something? Yeah. German Gonzalez says, hello, I love your content. Thank you so much. H. Partridge, great demo. Should you avoid wet on wet technique after first washes? Oh, so this is a great question. Wet on wet becomes harder the more layers you have built up. Yes, it is an issue. Okay, what you'll often find is that when you do wet and wet on top of an existing layer, you don't get as much of a nice even transition. It's just a part of it. You don't get as smooth of a wash as you'd want to, and that can be a little annoying, I will admit. Sorry, I'm just opening up a bunch of windows, then closing a bunch of... Here we go. That can be a little annoying. Where do I see how long I've been... Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. I don't know. My computer's a little strange. There we go. Okay. So, yeah. It's a great question. Yes, if you're going to paint wet and wet over an existing wash, you're going to have a harder time, and the result may not look as good as you'd want it to. I don't think you should avoid it. I think you should learn how to kind of work around it and do it in a way that still is decent. It's not going to be as good, for sure. What you want to do is learn how to do it in a decent way, at least. So yeah, don't avoid it. Give it a try. But I know it's really hard. Elsa Grace hit the thumbs up button. Thank you so much. Kelvin Zero, isn't ink just liquid watercolor? I don't think so. Actually, ink could be made from different... it doesn't work the same. I don't think it has the gum arabic, or at least not exactly the same component. The binder is a little different, I think. But again, it should work. It should work well. Just I don't know how well. So yeah, the concept should be similar, probably. Dave, you answered my question. Thanks, Ink. You have to work as fast as it is permanent for the question. Oh, yeah, that's a good insight. Daiji says, ooh, I think I drink ACV plus local lemon plus honey. Cool. I'm also using local lemon, I guess. Does that mean it's lemon from where I live? If so, yes, I do too. Marjorie Johnson, there was a... let's see here. Let me bring up my face because there's nothing to see on the desk. There was a watercolor artist that used cauliflowers for his shrubbery and trees. I wish I could find pictures. It was a really interesting technique. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Let me find that artist. I have shared a bit of their work before. I saw it in Seamless Expression. I don't know if it's the same artist you refer to, but we will find them. It was Bjorn Bernstrom. That's who it was, Bjorn. Let me see here. Bjorn Bernstrom. Watercolor. I'll pull up a picture because I have mentioned this artist a few times in the past and I've yet to show their work. It's really excellent, actually. I need to learn how to share my screen. It'll be much easier. Okay. Here's one I really love. Save image. So just a few moments of half dead air, and then I'll show you, because I do want to show you some of his work. It's really, really good. Let's do large photos. This one's nice. So what you'll notice about this artist is that he's not afraid to let the paint really create all of these effects, and he kind of just works regardless of the effects and using them to his advantage. It ends up looking really nice, actually. So here, I got a couple of pictures. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna bring it up here. So, let me show you one or two, just so that you get the general idea. And let me make it a little less cold in here. Desktop. I put it on desktop. Let's see. Okay, so this is one I really like. Just saw it right now real quick, and you see, he's not scared to have all of these effects, all of these splashes of water in the washes. His color schemes are very unique. I enjoy them a lot. I personally didn't get to see a lot of paintings that look like that, per se. A lot of yellow in the shadows and all over the place. A lot of reds in the trees here in the distance. Very, very nice. Let me add another one here. Just to give you a taste of what he does. This blog, Seamless Expression, is really, really good for these kinds of things. So, I have one that won't show. Thank you. Okay, let's just show this one and then we'll move on. See, very, very nice. The sky, all of this, it's actually intentional. I know it looks like maybe you wouldn't know necessarily if it was intentional or not. It doesn't look like a mess up to me. It is intentional. He knows exactly how to create, how to control these, how to get the paint to move back and create this effect. And this effect will work differently on different colors, and he knows how to do that as well. So very interesting artist, Bjorn Bernstrom. Check out his work. Let's see what else you're saying in the chat, and then we can move on. I'm gonna drop a link to the blog reviewing his work. Do I want to show? Okay, you know what? Okay, let's do this. Let's start with the introduction. I'm gonna put it here in the chat. There we go. And let us continue. Let's see what you're saying. Domo, it's made very differently from watercolor paints, but they are very similar in behavior for sure. Yeah, I get it. So a lot of people know about ink more than me, luckily. Marjorie Johnson, there was a watercolor artist, we talked about that. Rita Brata, are you a very popular painter in Israel? I don't know, not really, I think, because I never really aimed my stuff at Israel. To be quite frank, I always looked at it internationally. It's very interesting. A lot of people do know about me in Facebook groups because I do take part and I do share from time to time, but I wouldn't say like I'm super popular. In watercolor, from what I hear, I don't want to perpetuate this idea in case it's not true, but I do hear from many people that watercolor is really unpopular in Israel. It's more acrylics and oils. Though, I hear people say it anywhere, so I guess it's just BS. Licentious, hit like and subscribe, folks. Thank you so much. Envy, thank you. Yes, I think you should. Thank you so much. Chat keeps jumping. Yeah, I think you should spend more money on paper. Any recommendation? Arch or Saunders Waterford. My top recommendation. I'm still working on that web page on Kit to show you all of my materials. It will happen eventually. Dave said, okay, it's ink. Let's continue. Licentious says, I'm preparing ACV. Now, that's funny. Pence Palacio, for me, I consider cauliflower effect so mesmerizing, especially when you watch the flow of it. It can be a disaster when you accidentally touched a supposedly smooth wash. Yeah, I get it. So sometimes you want an area like the sky to look smooth and nice, and then bam, a cauliflower all over it. Yeah. Let's jump a bit. Ruth, people enjoy Ruth's cameo. Have you ever tried Kuretake Gansai Tamba? No, but I should. I keep hearing about them. Hopefully I will. Tambi, yeah, Tambi. How can you soften hard edges? You can actually do that, Tirza. I'll show you. It will depend on the paint. Sometimes the paint is very staining and it's very hard to loosen up some edges. But look at this edge, for example. I just touch it with a bit of a damp brush, okay? And then I dry it a bit, and I continue doing that. And if it's too hard, you can always use like a piece of paper or tissue, paper towel, and you will be able to very slightly soften it. Now in this case, it seems like this paint is quite staining. Again, this is the first time I'm using it, so I don't know exactly, but let's try a bit of a lighter edge here. You could even use your fingers for that, honestly. So this is the way of doing it. Whether you'd succeed or not, it really will depend on the paint itself. Let me show you a different, let's do this here. So a bit of blue, ultramarine. This I know I'll be able to blend once it dries, okay? We'll give it a few seconds and I'll hopefully remember to show you. Yusuf, my friend, how are you? Please put your studio. What do you mean put my studio? Do you want to see more of it? Maybe I'll do a tour, another renewed tour. Speedball makes fluid 100 that is 100% cotton. That's also not too expensive. Interesting. Be careful because they make fluid which is not 100%. Is that paper or ink? Okay. Japanese ink is made from soot. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know much about ink, unfortunately. That is art not, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, yeah, it's the same one. JSL Baker, does correcting values in real time lead to looking like overworking? So here you go. No, I think the answer is no. This doesn't look overworked to me. You let me know. So example, I made the slider real time. made this slide, this was a different example, but this, I don't think it looks overworked as long as you do it quickly enough. Because you really think about it like wet and wet. It's still wet and then you put the paint onto it. To me it looks great and it definitely does not look overworked. So yeah, I did a bit of it here too. So maybe here a bit because I messed it up with the lifting, but for the most part it shouldn't. Here I darkened it after the fact and it turned out nicely. These two are too close, so I didn't do a perfect job here. But who does a perfect job? Come on. So yeah, let's see what's up with the blue. Probably still wet. Okay, so the blue is already pretty dry actually. I can try and show you if I'll succeed in softening some of these edges. Okay, so again, some water. Touch the edge. And clean the brush and keep at it. And you should be able to at least loosen up some of it, you see? I know you can't see it very well, but you see how it slightly softened that edge? So yeah, I actually have a video on it, so you should look for softening hard edges or dry hard edges. You should find it. I have a full video showing this. Okay. Let's jump a bit forward. Thank you so much, Anayansi. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to share as much as I can. Struggle while painting on low GSM paper. Yeah, that's a problem because they will buckle quite significantly. You need to tape them really well. I would use a hairdryer, but the taping is really important to prevent buckling. I think that's what you mean. That's the issue you're having. Tape it really well and let it dry in sunlight is best, but then go over it with a hairdryer from afar. It sometimes helps in flattening. Christine says Bjorn has a video where he explains how he times the blues. Oh, that's interesting. I should search for it. JJ, have you ever seen a Walter Tisdale paintings? Expert control and makes it look almost like oil. I actually haven't. Let's look him up. And is it watercolor? So I couldn't find too many results. Paintings. Let's see. Interesting. Yeah, it does look not like watercolor. That's very interesting. It reminds me a bit of who was it? Brzozowski. I reviewed some of his work. I just forgot. Let's see here. Let's see. Watercolor. Can't believe I forgot his name. Titus Brzozowski. Reminds me a bit of his work. Interesting. I will look deeper into it. It's the first time I'm seeing this artist, so thank you for sharing with me. Javi Jeff, good morning, Liron. Have you ever painted with watercolor on black paper? Nope, haven't. Could be interesting to try. Because it's not opaque, I don't know how it will work, but I could try. Okay, so Calvin Zero and the rest of the gang, I see your messages, your chat messages. I will continue the chat after this demo. So here's the thing. Actually, I'll need your vote on this. I'll show you two options and you choose. I have a portrait here and I have a pumpkin. So we have this portrait and we have this pumpkin. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to move the pumpkin. So we have these two. Now here's the thing. The portrait is something I have demonstrated in the past. It is in the frustration-free watercolor course. So if you don't want me to do that, perfectly understandable. I did prepare sketches for both. So we have the portrait here and the pumpkin. So let me know, which one is it? Do you want portrait or pumpkin? I can do both if we make it, but I don't know, it may be a little tight on schedule. So let me know. Okay, we see pumpkin, I see portrait. Let's see, I'm going to read your messages while you vote. Do you have a favorite brand of watercolor? I remember you saying it was Daniel Smith. Is that still it? Kaidusa, it's all sorts of... I love Daniel Smith, Schminka. Well, Schminka is not my top, but Daniel Smith, M. Graham, SAA, Shinhan, PWC. Core I should try, but I know they're great. So yeah, I don't stick to just one brand. I use all of them. And I find that really... that's the best way to go. Choose the colors you like and then use whichever brand at your disposal. Sometimes, you can get much cheaper colors that have great quality. White Knights, I forgot to mention, I love them. Pumpkin, portrait, pumpkin, portrait. Oh man, that's 50-50. Okay, I'm gonna do both. Let's start with the portrait. I'm just gonna try and do both. So, portrait. Let's open it up. Actually, let's get rid of the picture because I have it right here, printed. So here's my portrait. Here is my reference. It's just going to be more convenient to actually have it here. Or not. Looks like it may not be as convenient. So I'm going to tape this down real quick. Let's see here. Oh man. I see so many people saying both. Okay, let's just go with both. Yeah. So here we go. I like to use thick tape because you see this paper, again, it's rolled. It comes rolled. And because it's rolled, it has this strength to it. See? It's very, very strong. Let me move the camera just a bit here. There we go. It pops. And this is why you need wider tape sometimes to really connect it well to the paper. Now again, some of you have seen this demo. It's a subject I love. I love this portrait in particular because it's so friendly in terms of the values and how they're built, and I'm going to explain why in just a moment. So I've been demoing this to students for a long, long time. Probably did like 6-7 of these by now. And also in the frustration-free watercolor course. So if you have it, and there's a good chance you have it, because I know a large percentage of my audience got that course, and I'm very grateful for that. And if you haven't, by the way, you may want to check it out. If you're struggling with painting freely and loosely and really enjoying the process and enjoying watercolor for what they are, a medium with a lot of flow and fun to it, I highly recommend you check it out. Link is always in the description box below. But thank you so much, and hopefully there will be the same kind of popularity with this upcoming course on values. I really appreciate it. You have to understand that this is how I make my money as an artist. I sell paintings, very few, not a lot, because I never really aimed far enough for that. I barely post on Instagram, hey, this is for sale, or this painting is done, size for sale. I just don't do a lot of that. Maybe I should. But a lot of my income is the teaching, the courses, the books, all of that. So very grateful to you for that. Now I will use this. You keep the lights on, quite literally. So thank you so much for that. So here we go. Let's move this a bit here. I'm going to move myself a bit. And hopefully now we can see everything. So here's what I love about this portrait. All of the shadows are really consolidated into this area. So what you get essentially is a very consolidated area to work on that very same technique I showed you earlier. Okay? We're going to use the same method, and we're just going to place the right value in the right place. This is the gist of my upcoming course on values. I want you to be able to look at a reference photo, no matter what it is, no matter where is my pumpkin. Did it disappear? Is it midnight? What's going on? Here it is. Okay, that was a lame joke. Sorry for that. But here you go. You see? Doesn't matter what the subject is. You should be able to render it in black and white. You should be able to see that it's not white. It's actually a light to mid value. Paint that in. This is slightly darker. Paint that in. This is much darker. Paint that in. This goes a little lighter again. You should be able to notice these nuances and paint them. And hopefully after the course, this is exactly what you will be able to do. Okay, so I'm actually going to rely on my photo here that's printed, while you can look at the photo up on the screen. Okay, I do want to make it a little larger. Why am I don't want you to have to work hard to see. So let's do it like this. And here we go. Remember, we're trying to get an even transition among all of these shapes, but don't worry about it too much. Do not worry about that. Everything is fixable. If you get some dry edges, cauliflowers, that's perfectly fine. Okay, don't worry about that. The goal is to disregard all else and just focus on putting the right value in the right place. So here, it's actually quite dark. And it's a bit hard to see the nuance, but here we go. It's not black, but it's pretty dark. Now you see me constantly wiping my brush on the towel. That's to control how much wetness is in it, okay? Now this area is starting to get a little lighter, but still quite dark, like this, okay? And let's blend that edge here. So a bit of water, while it's still wet, that's the best way to do this. And just softening some of these edges. Not this one, but these, okay? Eyebrow, a little darker. Let's put that in dark paint, like this. In fact, sometimes I'll do this. I'll put the darks, and then I'll fill in the mid-values around them. So this is very interesting. Like this, like that, like this. See? It will slowly come to life. It's been a while since I painted this one, by the way, so I may be a little rusty. You will forgive me. Let's blend all of this edge, really blend it. Like this. Go darker in the eye. I don't care about shapes touching, overlapping, blending together. This dark color will blend together. That's fine. That's understandable. Fix this shape. Continue on with this. And should I switch to a larger brush? Not yet. Do some wet and wet. This area around the eye is darker. So while it's still wet, do some wet and wet. Whenever I show students this exercise, they're very intimidated. They think to themselves, oh, you have to work super fast. And it is true to some extent, but it's actually a really good exercise. And don't worry about those edges. Again, don't worry about, those cauliflowers or those effects that watercolor creates. Don't worry about them, okay? It's fine. See, I pull this. You can actually use just this to blend some of the edges. You see, that's really cool. Let the paint, put a little fun in it. Let the paint kind of do its thing, you know? This nose here, shadow underneath. And I'm going to get the nostrils wet and wet. I'm going to wait a bit. Now, notice something fun. This is actually slightly darker than white, but the real shadow comes here. See here? Like this. A bit of a darker shadow. And I know it may look a little strange right now. You may think to yourself, what is that I'm looking at? But trust me, it will connect. Okay? And if you've seen this demo before, you know it will connect. There's a bit of a highlight here. Let's lift that. Just like this. Just like that. Okay? I forgot to soften this edge. Hopefully we can still do that. And if not, I'm going to get a few cauliflowers. That's fine. There we go. I'm going to switch to a bit of a bigger brush here. See, I'm working as fast as necessary, which may seem incredibly fast to you, and that's okay. To me, that's like a decent pace. The mouth. It's not too dark, but it's also not that light, okay? Let's soften some of this area right around here. And what I love about this is you get a very visceral result, if you will. It's immediate. As you said, you wanted alla prima, you got it. I forgot that this is going to be exactly that. It is very immediate, fun, visceral. If you love inking, you'd love this kind of a technique. Now you see how it's still wet. Let me show you. It's still a little wet. There we go. Around the nose. So I can, but it's not too wet. So I can actually put the nostril in and it's not going to flow too much. You see? I can put the second nostril in. It's going to stay pretty much in its place. So there it is. This kind of a thing here. Got to keep the wash going. Got to work fast here. Okay? Sometimes you got to work a little faster than you're comfortable with until you become comfortable with it. A few shadows here under the neck. This is slightly darker. let's do something fun here. So I'm going to put the edge first. I'm going to do this. I'm going to wet this area, see? And then I'm going to put darker values onto it, wet and wet. You see, and then you get a softer transition. However, this is a little too dark, so let me pick some of that back up. Here, see, this line should be blended. So let's blend it. Just like that. This variety of edges is what's responsible for the beauty. The fact that we get a hard edge here, soft edge there, this should actually be a little softer, so let me soften that up. See? See this beautiful nuance in the direction? This is actually a, I don't know if it's a cast shadow, probably a cast shadow from the muscle here, so you get a sharp line, but this is a shadow due to the roundedness of this area. I don't know if it's the trachea or whatever, it's rounded, so you get a smooth transition. All of these things you will learn with time, okay? And now, while it's still a bit wet, put in some paint. This is dry. So this, I mean, I can just start working it, or you can give it a spray just to get some moisture onto the paper. And if you're wondering how I can even find my way in here, because the pencil isn't as visible, it's just because I'm familiar with this subject in particular. It can take time. If it's your first time, either do your pencil lines a little stronger, and this should be much softer down below. Upper lip should be slightly darker. Mix that with that other side. Get this pinch between the two sides of the lip, and you got something there. You got something kind of nice. This should be blended too, like that. And we're actually pretty much done with the hard part. Let me kind of improve upon it in a few aspects, get a few things a little more accurately in. See how this shadow really faded? That's fine. Do I even want to play around with this section? Not as much. This I did want to get wet and wet, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. So spray from the spray bottle. See, and I got this kind of a shadow there. Oops, like this. And what I always tell students is once you put in the background, it's going to look much better, okay? But again, remember, the goal here is to get the right value in the right place as accurately as you can. You can take breaks, you can have some broken off shapes, I'm perfectly fine with that. It's not about the evenness in the technique. Don't get it twisted or mistaken with this exercise. This exercise, the pure goal is smoothness of the wash. Here, first and foremost, the goal is to get it somewhat accurate. And then later on, when you're improving your skill, you will be able to also get it evenly. And I didn't get it evenly in most places. You see tons of cauliflowers and weird shapes. That's fine. I didn't start wet enough. I'm perfectly fine with that. Now, again, once you put in the background, you're going to get a bit of a surprise, as it will greatly improve the result. Let me show you. So I'm going to put the hair in here. Hair is the easiest, really. To me, I painted very loosely and impressionistically. So there's a bit of a shadow here, see? And then for the in-betweens, I'm just going to go like this with a bit of a dry brush to get some kind of an effect of hair. It's very impressionistically. I should practice my more realistic hair painting skills. I actually have some the right brushes for that, thanks to John. Thank you so much. Got a few brushes for lifting hair strands and smaller details. But hair is quite freeing again because, see, this is the shadow under the hair. There's the hair, which is quite dark, but then there's the shadow underneath it. But hair is quite freeing because, in this regard, I know a lot of people don't like it as much, but in this regard, it's very loose and you've finished with the harder part, so the rest is kind of simple. So you see, I'm slowly building it up. The dry brush marks help to convey some kind of a texture of strands of hair. Believe it or not, funny enough, it actually helps with that. And then we'll be left with just the ear, which will also be simple, and the background, okay? And yeah, if you've been in the frustration-free watercolor course, you have seen this demo. I believe I also uploaded it to YouTube, so everyone potentially saw this. Hopefully I just did a bit of a better job this time. Okay. Now his eye does appear closed in mine. We can try and fix that, or we can just decide it is closed. Let's try and alleviate a bit of that. So this is the lower part of the eye, and the pupil is looking forward like that. So, and it's a bit hard to see, but hopefully here you will be able to see some more of the details. But yeah. Now, what I told you about the background is going to happen now, the real magic. Okay. So, let's flip it actually. Let's go, it's just going to be a little easier to fill up this space. And remember, when you need dark paint, you need also a lot of water. Don't be mistaken by the fact that I'm trying to get a dark paint, so I don't need any water at all. No. If you want to get a real flowy, good textured thing, you really, really need a lot of water to keep it flowing. Like I'm getting to a point where I need to add more water. And then add more black paint. See? And that way you'll get the flow. Now I need to be a little careful here around the shape of the lips. But because I'm quite familiar with it, I kind of know where I'm going. With the key word being kind of. By the way, I saw in a magazine, I saw someone else, a painter who painted this exact same portrait. So that was funny. Because it's a photo you can find online, it's royalty free. It was a little embarrassing and awkward, but that's fine. And since then I vowed to try and take more of my own pictures. Now look at what I'm doing next to the hair where it's dark. I want that strong contrast, so I'm lightening up the background. See, the background here is much lighter because I wanted to continue contrasting with the person, in this case, okay? And here I can go a little darker. See? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And I'm trying to make sure you have a surprise once I reveal it fully. But in any case, you can see. And this should be a little lower, like that. And what it immediately calls for, hopefully it looks better now, is some details in the lips. Because now the lips are too light. So I'm going to darken up the upper lip just a bit more here. Like this. And then I'm going to do that. And the question you asked about blending once you're already painted the layer, that's where it applies. It's harder. See? It's a bit harder to get a smooth, even result. Again, once it dries, that's a part of the challenge. Now here's the thing. The part above the lip should actually be a little darker. So that's what I'm kind of struggling with. So let's try it out like that, but avoid it looking like a mustache. And I'm going to spray over the whole thing just to keep it a little lighter. And yeah, that's way too dark. My bad. Kind of ruined parts of it, but that's fine. Let's do this. Let's blend this whole thing together like that. And now I'm going to do the black between the lips. And that'll hopefully kind of put things in the right place. So as part of manipulating, you have to know how to, again, fix those mistakes. This is too dark, I'm lifting it. See? So at the very least, you got a nice demo into how to utilize this. You see, real time. You have to control these things real time. And here's one thing that bugs me, actually. The background will help us fix it. If I just go like this and close off this lip and close off that lip. Yeah, hopefully that looks just a little bit better. It doesn't look perfect at all, but that's fine. Whenever you paint this, you learn new things. Like, I never painted it and it was like, oh, it's perfect. It's super easy. But in any case, see, you kind of get the point. This middle section annoys me. Let's get rid of it. This is way, way too dark. I don't need it to be as dark. Let's even use this. Now I'm getting into overwork land, okay? But it's worth it because I don't want it to be as dark. And I do feel like the shadow under the nose needs to be a little... By the way, I have no idea what you're writing in the chat, so sorry about that. There is no way I can focus on this in the chat simultaneously. Oh, I made a big mistake, actually. Now I see it. I made a big mistake with the nose. My bad. Okay, let's do this. I'll actually use this opportunity to fix that mistake. See, don't give up on it. Just keep trying to improve it. As long as you didn't go too dark and it's doomed, it's not doomed. So what happens with the nose here is that this goes down from here, and then it complements the shape of the nostrils. So it's more like this. Now, this is a little too dark, yes. And I will blend out that edge right here. Yeah, so I feel like I kind of ruined the nose. But now it's a bit hard for me to see it cleanly because I've been so close to the picture. So I think what we'll do is maybe let go of this one for now. And then continue after the pumpkin to see if we can improve something. Because I'm way too close to the picture now. But yeah, you get a face. It's a face. Okay, it looks like a face. But yeah, a lot to improve here. Now we can move on to the pumpkin. Let's see what you're saying here. 3/4 shot. Yeah, Tweety Kid, that's true. So you don't need to get the also symmetry of the face, which is really important. Okay, so it looks like you've been enjoying the process. Tape. John, you should find it in like Home Depot or stuff like that, not art stores. Kelvin Zero should ask Cinderella to stop stealing your pumpkin. Funny. Among Rakshan, of course I remember you. Are you kidding? I love how the next question is, what is your net worth? Welcome back, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Pumpkin is a portrait. Oh, Bjorn's video is on IGTV. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to write that down because I do want to check that out. I'm going to take a screenshot. It's a little easier. So hopefully, the end of this process doesn't completely destroy it. Again, no matter how many times you're going to paint, watercolor is extremely random. So yeah, let me think this through for a moment. The lips are going to drive me crazy. So here's what I see. I do see that the edges should be lighter, just a bit. But is that really that important, or is it just kind of an illusion? I'm not sure. Let's try. You see, I painted this like 7 times already, and still I also get some surprises. Let me look at the photo here. Let's see. Okay, so I actually really like this shadow. Let me try. I'm not giving up on it that easily. Let me try here. This is what you should be doing, by the way, when you're painting. So, let's put a bit of a wet wash here. There is a darker section that goes up like that. Now it does stop here, and then it kind of continues into this section, but it blends out here, right? So there's a smoother transition there, like that. Okay. Now, okay, I know what I did wrong here. Of course, this isn't enough. I'll actually, at the risk of not liking the result, I'll continue with this section here and help it kind of blend in, because all of this should be darker, and that'll actually help me. Honestly, I'd probably let it go and make a new one if I wanted to, if I was practicing this on my own. But I do feel the need to set an example and try and push it all the way till the end. So let's try it out. So maybe this fixes the shape a bit, just a bit, putting it in its right place. But then we have the issue of, I think this should be lighter. I mean, I know this should be lighter. The question is that the thing that's going to solve the face here? Let's see. Okay. Because the lip should be darker, slightly darker in comparison to that. Let me open up the picture a little larger here, because I am looking at a smaller picture. Silly me. Okay. So yeah, definitely should be lighter here. I could even try and use a bit of opaque paint, white, just to, oops, I keep dropping stuff, just to maybe bring it out a little more. Let's see here. Okay, so that's a little better in my opinion. Now the upper lip can be a little darker around that corner. See, don't give up on the painting. Just keep at it. Until you're, like, there's nothing else to do. There's nothing more to do. So when I look at it now, it doesn't, that's a mistake, yeah. It's the lower lip that's a little darker. Got that wrong. That happens. And it is actually a little darker in my version too, but let's try it out. And look at how much I'm repeating and doing, and it is getting to be a little overworked, but it's still, like, it's still possible. You see, I'm still making a difference here. So that's the mindset you ideally want to have. You do see a bit of that lower lip here. And I do think maybe my overall placement of the mouth isn't as accurate as it could have been, which is fine. I'm fine with that. Let's get that nostril a little darker, like that. And this here just a little bit darker, like that. And this lip should be smaller, so like this. And I lost the, you see, I lost the, there we go. I lost this wavy shape here. I think it's much better. Let me see this on the monitor. Now what you're seeing. Oh, yeah, that's much better. Yeah, it's alla prima. It's messy. It's okay, but it's at least now it's a little more on point. That's like just part and parcel of painting like this in a more direct way. Okay, that the result isn't always gonna be as smooth. Now I'm working on the ear, starting here dark near the center, and then getting a little lighter in its surrounding, not too much, but a little. Like this, see, got it in one go. You don't need to let them touch and that's it. This is a shadow, but underneath it, it's darker, just a bit. So you go like this, and you soften that a bit. Get those very light shadows in the ear, so very light. This paint is strong. Ruth came by. Let's see if she'll actually stay here. So a bit of this here. There's a bit of a shadow right here. This has a bit of a shadow. This has a bit of a shadow. And I believe we're almost done here, actually. I think we're done. Yeah, this looks good. Let's do this. Very bit of shadow, kind of around the bottom, a little more. And I think that wraps this one up. Yep. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Seeing me struggle a bit, sweat a bit. It's just a part of the watercolor process. We can move on to the pumpkin. Let me see your comments. A lot of them. I'm gonna just take the laptop, put it on my lap in a few moments, and just answer as much as I can. It's always amazing with such things as portraits that just one tiny detail wrong can change the whole look. Yeah, definitely. Greetings from Alberta, Canada. Lori Huber says, welcome aboard. Thank you. Position more like the photo regarding the nostril. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, a lot of things are off here. Again, this thing will drive me crazy. The shadow under the nose is really not the way I wanted it to be here. All of this, I tried softening it. Let me take a bit of opaque paint to show you, because it's going to take ages and I don't think I can lift that. In fact, I made it worse. Just a second. So let me show you. I'm going to take a bit of it just for demonstration's sake. I should get a white opaque paint, but in any case, this, just imagine it kind of going lighter. See? I don't know if you can tell, and I, of course, I ruined something along the way. I'm gonna let that one go in just a second, but let's cover this. Good. See, this shadow shouldn't protrude go up as much. That's my problem here. And it bugs me a bit. Try not to let these things bug me, but this one in particular gets to me. See? That's kind of the shape it should have. And it should look more like a shadow. Now, around the nostril, the other nostril, yeah, I kind of messed that one up too. And this could be overconfidence, by the way, because I was like, yeah, I'm familiar with this scene. And this should be a little more inside. That's it. Okay, we're good, we're good. I'm gonna let that one go. Like this. So a little bit more like the where you'd want that shadow to be in. Just kind of correcting it. Imagine it's not a yellowy white, but like a white white. You can probably not even see it. It's a little yellowy because it's my Shinhan PWC Jaune Brilliant, which is kind of a very light, warm color. So yeah, my back, I gotta stretch. You'll forgive me for a second. I need this. And the other side too. Now, you know, with all of this, paying attention to the small details and obsessing over them, just take a few steps back. Does it look like a face? Yes, it does. That's all I care about. And again, it's not necessarily all I care about when I sit down and paint with myself, not as a demo. But as a demo, there's a lot of things that, you know, you have to talk while you're doing it, a lot of things that influence the result, so I'm not too worried about that. But yes, when I do try and get something a little closer to the original, I will sit down and do it more carefully and slowly. I mean, I think I was careful here. It's just a lot of distractions. But let's remove the tape, and then we can do the pumpkin one next. So here we go, and this does benefit a lot from lifting the paint, the tape, because you see it has this very clear border. I filled in the entire background. See? So yeah, this is nice. One thing that's also a bit annoying. Said I'd let it go, but just need to fix this. This bump here is unnecessary, excessive, and it's not a part of the head actually. So yeah. So we're done with this one. Pumpkin. Let's see what we can pull off here. Now, I think I'll tape this one with thinner tape. Should I? I don't know. Let's see. Let's get rid of the reference photo here and bring the pumpkin black and white. Oops, move the screen again. Move the pumpkin right to the corner. Now this one's a little smaller here as well. Got my pumpkin a little folded, that's fine. Set this aside. Let's do it like this. Yeah, that's good. So while I tape it, let's see what you're writing. You need a kitten for Ruth. Laurie, trust me, Ruth does not want a kitten or need one. She's not too friendly to other animals. Very few dogs that she can kind of be in the same space with. That's our, you know what, let me use a thicker tape. This isn't strong enough. Ruth is a snob when it comes to other dogs, other cats. People she actually does end up being nice to once she gets to know them, but if it's just a random encounter in the street, she's like, I don't care about you. And with dogs, she's more like, I don't want to be near you. Even another dog in the family that they spend a lot of time together. It takes them a long time to play because she's really like that. She's not aggressive in any way. She's a little baby of a dog, but she doesn't like to play with other dogs, and definitely she doesn't like cats. We're trying to instill in her that we don't run towards street cats. We kind of let them be. Pigeons, she'll run towards them. Yeah. Sometimes I think it'll be interesting to see what she's like when she has to get along with another animal, but honestly I think it'll just be torture for her. Because I don't know, it's very few dogs. One time she met a corgi that she played with quite nicely, but that was the most we got out of her. You can actually see this in her birthday video that I put on the channel, in case you missed it. By the way, high chance that you have missed it, because it didn't get that many views at all. So that's a hidden gem. It's Ruth takes over, or my dog takes over my channel. Funny video. So, now we got the pumpkin. Now, do I want to just use this? Okay, so at the risk of confusing you, I will place this here, because I want to see it in front of me. Now, I'm going to use a bit of a bigger brush here, and let's see what we can pull off. So, I'm going to start with the easiest thing here, which is actually the background. Why not? I mean, I didn't start with it in the portrait, but here, if I can just get that off my plate, why not? Background's dark, okay? Like this. Now, you know what? Let's just start at random. I don't usually do that, so let's do that here. So, for example, this stem thing. See all sorts of shapes in it, but the overall thing here is kind of a dark shape, okay? You will see me go a little wet and wet here and there on it. So this is the upper part. And then, and I know you can't see all the nuances, it looks kind of black, but it's not, it's actually lighter than black, though it may be a little too dark on the left side. So let's kind of lift that up with a bit of water. You see I'm just putting in a little water into it, making it lighter. Let's absorb a bit of this excess paint, and now we'll connect it to the shadow that is slightly darker, see? So that's a little bit stronger here. And we can start injecting some wet and wet for details. So a bit of a darker section here, a bit of a darker section there. So it's a bit of a different process, and I don't have a formula that always works the same way. You have to really match your painting approach with the reference sometimes, okay? So that's just a part of it. Now let's start working on these shapes here. Not that easy of a subject, but it is very doable. So what I see here is kind of a mid value, mid to dark value around here. And that kind of lightens up the more we go up. So I'm coming back with some water and helping it lighten up, you see? Some water and leaving some highlights there because I do see them, and helping it lighten up. Now notice how it gets a little darker in this section. So I'm going to get that in as well. And you have to do one thing and one thing only. Trust the process. Just do this and trust that it will connect to something, okay? Go section by section. This here around the center is actually quite dark. And everything is dark up until this point. But this goes a little lighter. And then it goes here a little darker yet again. All the way down to here. And this is probably where it kind of flips the pattern. Because this side is more towards the light. So this goes here. And here, and again, don't worry if some of your lines some of your shapes aren't perfectly flowing into one another. I'm going to darken this edge just a bit. This here just a bit, like this, and we can move on to the next one, which is here. So I'm going to start with a kind of a mid value. Go around this highlight here, a beautiful highlight, like this. Again, lighter up top. I can even leave a gap here, honestly, in some spots, I don't care. And then a little bit darker as we get to the bottom. And again, my goal for you is to just be able to do that for whatever reference you're looking at. It could even be an abstract reference. I don't care. I just want you to be able to do what I'm doing right now. That's the goal of the course. So you want to stay tuned to that for sure. I think a lot of people will benefit from it. Next up, okay, kind of a similar process again. Starting light. Let's leave a bit of a gap here near the darks. But you see, I'm fine with them mixing a bit. It's perfectly fine. And then we get a bit more of a bit of a more substantial shadow around here. So I'm just going to put it in. Shadow right here. This here should be a little darker. It's a little too wet, so I may get a cauliflower, believe it or not, even though I went darker, but that's fine. Again, you can go dark and quite wet. And then on to the next one. And paint around that beautiful, beautiful highlight here. And if you don't want these to flow together, just leave a small gap. That's perfectly fine. Again, you don't have to connect every shape, and sometimes you'd want to avoid it, in fact. So this goes here. And I'm a big believer that you want to learn how to do this. I could cover everything up with an initial wash and then put in some of the shadows, but I didn't want to do that. I actually want to put this in kind of a one go, if I can. And to actually paint dark where I see it dark, light where I see it light. Like this. Hopefully it does come together into something interesting and somewhat accurate. So this here is a problem. Here in particular, I want to keep this section a little lighter, so there will be a bit of a gap. And then I'll get it slightly darker the more we move to the right, okay? Like this. Now, and this is again trusting the process. I don't know, I have no guarantees that it will work, but all I can do is just put the right value in the right place, and then what we'll do is afterwards we'll look at it and we'll see where we messed up, where we should fix some stuff, where the impression could be improved. I'm kind of enjoying doing this one fast. I don't know why. Sometimes you get into the rhythm and it's just fun. Here we have a couple of shadows like this. But for the most part, it's light. A couple of shadows. This is fairly light too. Like this. Get rid of these white gaps. Like that. Close off some of them. It's okay if we get cauliflowers here. I don't mind that. And we got kind of something. Now, okay, so yeah. This is a little too dark. It's a little too late. But I will try and fix it. I'll just put water on it, because it's like 90% dry. And I'll try lightening it up that way. And then I'll come back with a dry brush. Again, this is kind of, we're learning how to do this. We're practicing this action of softening and improving. This is something you'll never stop learning, okay? You'll always learn new things when it comes to this technique. What I want to do, here's something interesting to try. You see this dark, and then the middle should be kind of between this light and a bit darker. So let me try. I think this is actually the right value. Let's see here. Let's try going over it like this while leaving a gap here, you see? But this gap needs to be smooth, so maybe I'll switch to a smaller brush. Let's see here. Like this. And maybe that puts it in a bit of a, I don't know, more, like I went way too dark here with the darks. Definitely have. But you see where I didn't go too dark, in the center you can tell that you're looking at the stem and all of that, so it's funny. Let's continue some of these shapes here all the way to the center. And now you'll notice that this kind of dried a little lighter. So let's go darker here, okay? And the goal is, again, first time painting this, it's just to put, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, that's fine, just to put the right value in the right place as accurately as you can. And then you look at it. Then you see, okay, I could improve this, I could improve that, this doesn't look good enough, this is inaccurate, you know. And let's smooth out some of these. I'll just go like that. And use my finger a bit. And you can actually even lift back some of this here. So yeah, very dramatic around the center. I do think the center reads quite well, even if the rest is a little all over. But I actually like it. I think it looks good. adding a bit of dry brush here just to detail out some of these twists and turns on the stem. Like that. You'll notice that the top has some details on it too, so let's get some of those in. Like this. There we go. Yeah. I love this section. Like, if you just focus on this section, it's really nice, actually. This one I like too. See, this is way too dark. This is what's ruining it for us. I was really careless. Look at what it looks like here. See, this is not that dark at all. I can try an aggressive move. If I put some water on this edge, let's see what happens. Watercolor really is a mystery, so sometimes you don't know exactly. See, I was able to kind of pick some of that back up, and now let's do it properly around the bottom. And what I get a lot is comments of people saying what I did was brave, like what I just did right now. It's not really, you have nothing to lose, remember. All you're doing is experimenting with manipulating the paint. I do see, for example, a gentle shadow right down the middle here, so let's do this. Let me even try something weird. It's a very gentle shadow. Maybe I'll skip it. I think I'll skip it. It's not as important. But what is important is this gradual transition. So here, let's try this technique here. So I'm going to pre-wet this area on the layer that exists there. Pre-wet it. And then I'm going to put in that mid value and try and get a smooth transition from light to dark. You see that? And then I can come back with some more dark paint over this shape. And I can even use this opportunity to maybe lift back up some of this. You see? This edge needs a little blending, so let's try. Maybe like this. This here definitely needs to be darker. But the thing is, if you just quit and you say, okay, it doesn't look like it, then what's the point, you know? You'll never really improve it. So it's gradual work to improve it, like this. And I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to miss my focus stamina. I can feel it, like I'm getting a little. I'm losing some of my patience just because talking and painting and demoing it can happen. There we go. I think I'm going to stop now. This looks really, really nice. And if you don't believe me, I'll hold it from afar and you'll see. There is a lot to improve, frankly. Like, yes, I would have wanted, you know what? I would have wanted this to be a little darker. So just go for it like that. Grab a bit of clean water here. See? I think that's better. Let's do it here too. Pre-wet. Wet and wet. But I won't make the same mistake. And I'll keep this area a little lighter, see? So that I still get some kind of a transition. See, all of those things I'm doing, I'm touching with the paper, it's things you learn with time and experience. That's the thing I want you to learn when I talk about real-time manipulation. Slowly but surely you will learn all these tricks. Now let me hold it up like that, and you will see. I think it actually reads like a pumpkin, a bit. But you let me know. There's obviously always a lot to improve. Let me now look at the chart. Let me show you what I got here. And I will look at what you're saying. I gotta stretch again. Whew. That was tiring for my back too. Did a lot of deadlifts today and 2 days ago, so I'm a little tired. I gotta rest my back a bit. Let's move this one here. Put my hand there. And get to some of your messages. Then when I have to jump to the end. Arthur Koopmans, nothing wrong with cauliflowers on your pumpkin. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. They work well together, I think. Cauliflowers, pumpkin, it's all good. Kelvin Zero, this is basically wet and blending practice in one. Yes, exactly. It's everything together. Tweety Kid, this is so educational. I stumbled across this video and it's amazing. Thank you so much for being here. So yeah, every live stream I will get a viewer or two or maybe more of people who discovered me using the live stream, which is huge. Like, I'm very grateful for that, so thank you for being here. I actually really like this pumpkin. I love the way it looks. This is a little lighter. Again, I could go like just to, here we go. I think this will help. Just to make this look like a highlight, I'm gonna slightly darken some of these and you'll see. Maybe it just makes this proper highlight pop a little more. Like so. Okay. And Raoul Campbell, the only problem with Liron's tutorials is that they have an end. Hopefully I'll continue posting them and then at least there will always be another one. Yvonne George, what colors do you use for darks? More than black? So usually what I'll do is again mix with my primary colors, which you can see here very clearly because I just refilled them today. French Ultramarine, Perylene Red, kind of an Indian yellow, yellow ochre. So I'll usually mix my black from all of these, and I have shown this many times how I just do that. So you'll be able to search for that, like how to mix your own black colors. It's pretty simple. But blue and red get it dark, and then yellow gets it neutralized. Vespa for Yen, or for Jen, sorry, Liron, do you know watercolor artist David Lobenberg? He does value-based vibe, oh, I know, is it the California Vibe workshop thing? Let me see, yeah, I know this artist, yeah, I love his work. I should probably cover him in the Painting Masters. Yeah, so Vespa, this is one of the things that really inspired me to get into watercolor. I saw his California Vibe workshop and I thought, oh, I want to try that. So yeah, Kelvin Zero, an introverted dog, that is rare. Yeah, she's not really introverted. She loves people. When people come over to visit, she really enjoys it. She's just, I think, she just likes her own space with dogs. I don't know why. Probably bad experiences before we adopted her. Lori Huber, she will love a kitten because it will be a baby. Maybe. That is a possibility. She is much more forgiving with puppies and kittens. I don't think she ever really met one, but yeah, with puppies, she's definitely a little more patient, let's say. Dave says, looks great, Liron. I'll be more than happy with that. Thank you so much. Yvonne, George, I learned a lot. Thank you for being here. Ian Jackson, do you ever use bulldog clips? Yes, mostly when painting outside. That's when I use bulldog clips. Move Mama 1, watching you obsess is also very encouraging and helpful. Thank you. And you see, it does lead at the end to a nice result. And you have to remember, again, with these, it's all about that long distance impressionism. Like here, it looks to me very realistic. You know. It's just, and I missed a shadow here that's actually quite important. This, bye-bye. So yeah, to me, that's what matters. If it reads well, even if it's from afar, I'm perfectly happy with that. So yeah, thank you for saying that. Betty Ryan, really nice to see you do it live. Thank you. I try to do these consistently every Thursday. Dave says, I agree. Okay, it's conversation. Looking all right in black and white, says Arthur. Thank you. It's amazing what a difference a few strokes can make, says Tweety Kid. Yeah, definitely. By the way, we're going to wrap it up soon. If you have any questions, drop them down below. I will try to get to them, and if not, screenshot, and I will share in the future, or do a video or something like that, okay? I take all questions into consideration, and then I do incorporate them in future videos. David Figs, it's always good to see you struggle. It teaches me how you deal with issues that pop up. Yep, for sure. That's a big part of it. Let's see. Yeah, the black paint is weird. In the palette, it has a bluish green undertone, but it doesn't show up in the painting. Yeah, it is the palette being tinted, but you are right to an extent. For some reason, the blue is more visible here. I don't know why. I see it in real life even better, so yeah. Arthur says, as a Dutch person, I can confirm that trying to control water is not easy, but it is possible. I'm not sure about the Dutch reference, but let me know. Ears and hands are hard for me to paint. So I find ears pretty simple, but hands are a bit of a challenge. So let's see what else is going on here. Oh yeah, I'm gonna take the tape off, don't worry. Don't worry, Ray, I got you covered. Let's do that now, I think it's dry enough. Arthur says, I like how a watercolor painting pretty much always improves on the photo. The pumpkin looks very expressive. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the goal, to make it more interesting, or, you know. Jazz, yay for adopting and not shopping. Jazz, to be honest with you, I don't know if it's more common, let's say, in the US, but here it's very common for people to adopt dogs. Even though you do meet a lot of people who buy dogs, it is very common to adopt here. I think for most people it is the go-to. I think in other countries it's more obvious that you buy a puppy, but here I don't think it's the case here. There's a lot of adoption days and a lot of Facebook groups, and Facebook groups are really strong here because it can be more local. There are like fairs, dog adoption fairs, every Thursday or Friday here, really close to where we live. And we just saw her on Facebook, and we're like, I knew that we have to adopt her. John, I love both outcomes support and pumpkin. Learned so much watching your process and problem solving. Thank you so much for the kind words, everyone. Kelvin, one thing I noticed is that all my paintings look better when seen from afar. Yeah, you know, sometimes some of my paintings look better when I close my eyes. No, I'm just kidding. Tom Ford, you should do an updated art supply list soon. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that, I promise. I will do that on Kit. I keep writing reminders for myself, but I'll just continue reminding myself until it actually happens. Kit. Let's see. Okay, let's remove the tape, and then I'll read some of your comments. So here we go. Pumpkin tape, and you can see some of the sketches under the tape, because I sketched outside of frame too. Because if you remember, I drew these in advance, so before the tape was ever applied. So here we go. Yep. This and the original. I'm gonna place the portrait here. Oops, that's again me moving the wrong thing. And then I'm gonna put the portrait right next to itself here. Let's move the palette. We don't need it right now. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed these results. I'm gonna look at some more messages. MB, thank you, that was so helpful. Happy to hear. Ray, super job on these paintings, Liron. Thanks for sharing. My pleasure. PJ Lewis, I hope we'll get to see it when the tape comes off. Here we go. Very useful studies today. Thanks, Liron. My pleasure. Christine, Aniruddha Gupta, I recall a video where you posterized the black and white image to figure out the values. What pros and cons does that provide when doing a value study? Pros is it's easier to see. Cons is it's easier to see. So it is easier to see the values, but the cons is that you're not training yourself to do that by your own. So what I would recommend is use the posterize feature for clarity and all of that, but try not to be dependent on it. Try and do things without it as well. Do these kinds of exercises. Because it will be very significant to your growth. Like actually relying on your own skills of seeing the simplified shapes. So that will be the con. Another con is that it does simplify it, so you lose some of the details. That's something to have in mind, because if you lose a detail that was important, then, you know, kind of misses the point. So yeah, that's the kind of a thing. Mine look best for really far, Laura says. We're all going through this. Arthur, Laura, it's a silly joke because we live below sea level. Oh, I see. Oh, wow. Had no idea. That's funny. Wow. I got it. Yeah, controlling water is, come on. Marjorie Johnson, but you are successful, I guess. Marjorie, this was a great video. Makes me comfortable with my fussing. I love it when the painting immediately improves. But once in a while, it becomes a real challenge to correct the correction. Yeah, that's true. One thing to have in mind in regards to making those corrections and overwork is remember how if you do it fast enough, like if you're actually paying attention to what's going on paper and you catch the mistake as soon as possible, it won't lead to overwork. Overwork happens when it's dry and you're still trying to do that. Now, some of the things I did today are risky. They are quite risky, but they were still done within the right time frame. And even if something dried completely, it's a risk I'm willing to take to learn. So yeah, I think that's kind of a good way of looking at it. let's see. Right, Liron, do you come on here at set times each week? Yeah, it's 9 a.m. Eastern Time, Thursday. That's my set time for live streams at the moment. I've been pretty consistent at it. So 9 a.m. Eastern Time. It's actually 4 p.m. my time because of the time differences. Mariana Zaitseva, thank you for being there for us. You got it. Marjorie Johnson, I get a lot from this live stream. Thank you. Ria Cheng, or Chang, I'm not sure. What is the thought process going from a black and white value study painting to color? What is the thought process? Okay, so what you want to do is practice matching the value so that when you're working with colors, you'll also be able to match the value. It's kind of like, it's just about like you could look at it like training wheels, but for example, if you get used to mixing the right value with one color, it will be easier to do with a different color. So if I have this blue here, and I were to mix a similar value, it will be something like this. Can you even see? Yeah. And if I need a darker value, then it'll be closer to this. But the thing is, by eliminating color, you have less to... I'm sorry, I know it doesn't focus. Come on. Yeah, so it decides... So I can show you the details up close because it's decided to get stuck up close. In any case, yeah. By eliminating colors, you're making it easier for yourself to work on the shapes, filling in the shapes correctly, to work on maybe even composition. It's just easier. And the more you get used to the technique of mixing, the easier it is to do the same for different colors. So you start introducing French ultramarine and you learn how to match the values in that. And then you introduce a bit of a Quinacridone Rose or magenta and you learn that. And then ultimately you start mixing them together on the palette and learning what they look like mixed together and how to get a dark value. So for example, I know automatically if I need a very dark value, even neutralized or black, all I need is a bit of French ultramarine, showing you real time here, French ultramarine, bit of this Perlin red, and a bit of yellow ochre, or this yellow, that yellow, it doesn't matter really. All these three together will produce a fairly dark one. This is purple, let's get a bit more paint. It's pretty moist because it's right out of the tube, which has its advantages and disadvantages. Let's see. So you see it can produce quite a dark color. Now it's still a bit purple, so a bit of yellow will fix that. See, that's quite a dark color. So yeah, you can do everything pretty much with these primary colors. It sometimes can be easier and faster to use black, that is for sure. But in any case, what you want to do is practice learning a few colors and how to create a dark value with them, and then starting to mix them together and seeing how to create the same kind of a technique of creating a dark value, a light value, and so on. But the idea here is first and foremost eliminating other worries, like the time it takes you to choose different colors, mix different colors. You're just using one. And I do think, generally speaking, if you want to work on the fundamentals of composition, shape, depth, values, all of that, you only need black and white to do that. And if you can do it black and white, you have a better chance of succeeding in doing it in color. If you jump straight to color, you can be so dazzled by all the different tools and different colors you can use and different combinations that you forget about composition, that you forget about good shape design, that you forget about edges. All of these things that are really hard to think about everything together. This allows you to focus on them, the fundamentals that apply to pencil as well, because in pencil you have shapes, you have values, you have edges. These are the most important things. Later on you add the paint and you can create a stronger mood, stronger atmosphere, stronger emotions, stronger concepts using temperature. But before you even have the privilege to think about all of these, you really need to, in my opinion, to some degree master this. Now play around with colors, enjoy it, but that's an extra to me. The basis is to become good at this too, simultaneously, okay? I mean, I always say, if you enjoy something, do it. Do more of that. If your goal ultimately is to enjoy your creation, so do what works for you. Don't change that because I said learn monochromatic or learn black and white. What I'm just saying is simultaneously, while you do your fun experimentation, also work on these fundamentals. So yeah. Hope that helps. That was a way too long of an answer. Now, if you're talking about, and I just realized now I may have not even addressed your question, like how to make that transition. So yeah, individual colors, and then actually I answered it. That's fine. James, well done with the pumpkin. It's great. Thank you so much. Vespa, I always learn so much from you, Liron, and I love your sense of humor. Thank you. Javijev, pet adoption is big here, stateside as well. Okay. Just adopted a puppy a few months ago. Lab mix, cool. Those are interesting labs. When they're suddenly smaller or larger, it's really, really interesting. Alessandro, it's always a pleasure watching you. Thank you. And if you didn't buy Liron's course, I recommend it to you. Thank you so much for saying that. Aniruda says, thank you. Twitty Kid, I like how you took the risks and made it work. That is one of the best parts of this. Thank you. Thank you, Kelvin. It's 9 p.m. your time. Interesting, yeah. Stephen Martin, thank you. Very helpful. Dave says, thank you. Tweety Kid, thank you. And that's Down with the Pumpkin is a small masterpiece. Thank you. These are usually the fun parts that are a little easier. They have a stronger contrast. Laurie Huber, thank you for the great lesson. Calvin, this is why limited palette is important. Forces you to learn color mixing. That's true. Ray says, okay, thanks to everyone. Been super busy lately, but 7 a.m. here, and I am Thursday's great. Yeah. Oh, okay, 7 a.m. where I am. Thursday's great. Perfect. So thank you so much, everyone. I really, really appreciate you being here. Again, without you, I couldn't do what I'm doing, so hopefully I can help along the way, and it means the world to me. Anyone who watches the videos, buys the courses, whatever you do, thank you so much for that. I do, again, planning on doing something along the lines of values to really tackle it properly. I want to do the right research, do the right preparations to really carefully move into it until I feel like I have something great in my hands. Because I do want you to be able to do what I just did here. This is the core. If you can do that, you can paint anything. And I would love to see this applied to landscapes and seascapes and all of that as well. It's all about observing those values. And yes, some reference photos are harder. Some reference photos I would recommend trying before others. But it's all good and fun, and I highly recommend you give this a try. Don't be afraid by it. You saw me, struggling along, just like you, figuring things out, messing some shapes up. Sometimes the hard part is even finding your mistakes, because it feels off, but you can't really tell. What I recommend is just scan. Ask yourself, is this the same value? Is this the same value? Is that the same value? Is this the same value? Just do it like a robot. You will find it eventually. Or ask yourself, what's wrong about the nose? What's wrong about the transition from the eye to the... There's always something, okay? There will always be something. Sometimes just being more focused when you paint is the solution. To me, personally, if I paint these off camera, I know it's going to be a much more accurate result. That's fine. That's just part of it. The technique will be the same. I'll do the exact same things, just slower and more careful and more in the timely fashion and that accuracy. So yeah, keep your eyes open for that course. I will be updating you on it. It's at least like 5 months. Will be 5 months from now, minimum, I think, till it's out. But hopefully it will be out this year. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Much appreciated. Let me know. Leave a comment if you missed the chat. If you're watching this not live, that's perfectly fine. I hope you enjoyed it still. Leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you want me to talk about more. What kinds of things you struggle with. It will all feed itself into future content. Thank you so much once again, and I will talk to you again real soon.